Hey there, world. Welcome to Transparent Dialogues with Dr. Fluellen, where we uncover real stories, provide raw insights, open conversations about life, business, sports, and personal growth. So now, middle school has now come to a close. I finally found this wonderful thing that gave me joy, this orange little bouncing ball, right? And for the first time, I was experiencing happiness from within. And a bouncing ball was doing that for me. So I found myself going crazy, basketball crazy, shoveling the snow. You know, my mother would say, "Hey, what are you doing? It's cold outside. What are you doing with your daddy's shovel?" I'm going across the street to the park. I'm going to shovel the snow and practice. She looked at me as if I was crazy, but at the same time understanding she'd much rather me go shovel the snow than get in trouble in the streets. And people would stare out their window across the street from the park and look at me as if I was crazy because, shoveling the snow. And when it was raining, all the players would leave the court, and I would stay there and practice and practice and practice. Slowly but surely, I was starting to become better at this gift that I discovered that I had the whole time. I ended up meeting a best friend named LeSean Williams. He introduced me to the Glenville Rec. Where I'd go to the Glenville Rec and would practice, and me and Lee would practice all day long. Summer ended, and now I'm entering high school. I get into high school, and I was very frustrated and upset. You see, because Cleo and George, they decided to send me to a school on the other side of town, when I wanted to stay within my community and hang around my friends and play with people I knew. But see, Cleo and George, they had this discernment that they knew that if I stayed within the neighborhood, chances are this beautiful gift that I've discovered that I have might dwindle away. So she sent me all the way across town to a high school called Collinwood High School. It had a dress code, had to wear a polo and some khakis. I didn't know anybody in the school. Walking through the school, I know no one. Felt so uncomfortable. No girls would talk to me. "Ma, I don't want to go to this school." "You're going to go to this school and you're going to enjoy it because this is where you're supposed to be," they would say. The time passed, and I'm in the classroom in English class, 9th grade English class. And her name was Miss Kernich. She was such a beautiful lady. She passed away years ago, and such a wonderful lady. I had no idea Miss Kernich was going to be the one to show me that I was smarter than I ever thought I was. You see, we're sitting in class and we're reading this book. And the book was boring. Half of the class was asleep. That didn't stop Miss Kernich from teaching. At the end of class, she said, "You know what? Everybody write a 4-page paper on this book we just read." Class, "Oh, no, man." Class dismissed. Everyone's walking out. Miss Kernich decided to stop me. Out of all the kids, she stopped me. "Come here, Wesley." I go over to her. "What you want?" She said, "I can see that you're not interested in writing this paper." Yeah, I told Miss Kernich, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not interested in writing this paper." Now, in the middle of all this dysfunction, because even though the school was on the other side of town, it still was a poverty-stricken community, just not mine. But Miss Kernich had this habit of always smiling. She smiled and said, "You want to entertain me as to why you don't want to write this paper, Wesley?" And I said, "Because I play basketball. That's what I'm here for. I ain't here to go to no class, write no papers." Miss Kernich smiled yet again. And she said, "I got news for you, son. If you don't pass my class or any of the other teachers' classes, you will not be playing basketball." Now remember, I finally found something that gives me love and joy, and I'm not going to let anybody or anything take this away from me, including Miss Kernich. I said, is that a fact? She smiled and said, yeah, that's a fact. She then said, you know what, Wesley? I'm going to do you a favor. I said, oh, yeah, what's that? She said, everybody else in this class can write about the book we just read, but you, I'm going to allow you to write about whatever you want. I said, seriously? She said, yeah, seriously. I don't care what it is. But look me in the face, Wesley. Promise me that you'll do your best. And if you do that, we got a deal. Man, what do you think was the first thing came into my mind when she said, look her in the face and promise her that I'll do my best? If you said my dad, you're right. Because remember, for 4 months, I ignored him. At the end of that 4th month, he wanted me to look him in the face and promise him that I would do something constructive with my life. And I lied to him. And he died the very next day. So this is my opportunity to right my wrong. And Miss Kearney has no idea about my life struggles prior to high school. Man, I went home and I locked myself in a room. And I never went home. I was always out in the street. And I was in there for a long time. And Cleo and George were wondering, Wesley, you've been in that room for a long time. What you doing in there? I yelled at them, hey, I'm doing homework. Leave me alone. They smiled, shocked that Wesley Fluellen was doing homework. Now, I'm sitting in there and I'm writing this paper. And remember, Ms. Kearney said 4 pages. I'm on page 15. And I can't stop writing. You see, because I started to write about all the things that I had to endure in life up to that point. All the people who mistreated me and hurt me, the pain that it caused me, and how I truly felt about it. And I was crying profusely as I continued to write. You see, these tears that I was crying, they weren't of sadness. They were of joy. Because the more I wrote, the freer I felt. You see, world, no matter who you are listening to this, if you keep things bundled up inside, it's always going to come out in a negative light. It's like a beach ball that you hold down in the water. You know, as kids, you take the ball and you push it underneath the water and press it all the way down. And then when you let it go, it just comes out sporadically and powerful. Well, that's what happens when we keep negativity and things that have hurt us bundled inside and not sharing it with anybody. But that day, I was letting it out. I was sharing it. And it made me feel so good. Journaling will make you feel good too. Try it. But after you're done journaling, find somebody that you trust to share that with. It'll be the best thing you ever do. I know it was for me. Now, I finished that paper and I turned it in to Miss Kearney. A few days go by. Now, I'm not expecting a good grade. I've never seen one before. I barely went to class. But I know I was making do on a promise that I made. After those few days go by, Miss Kearney passes back out the papers and she sits mine on my desk. And I kind of peek at it. I'm curious. To my surprise, there was a B with a smiley face next to it. This high school teacher put a smiley face, an actual smiley face on my paper. I was so shocked. But as we all know, a B is a good grade, is it not? Of course it is. But yet I was confused. I began to yell at Miss Kearney. How dare you give me this? You know doggone well I ain't earned this. You trying to embarrass me in front of my friends? Is that what we doing? You know doggone well I ain't earned no B. You just giving me that. And guess what Miss Kearney did? Yeah, you're right. She smiled. She said, Wesley, I really enjoyed reading your paper. You have a great way with words, young man. You should write books one day. Go figure. She said, one day, Wesley, you're going to be a great motivational speaker. How about that? That set me on a journey of success academically from that day forth. I left that class staring at that B all day, realizing that if I just applied myself, that success was a choice. And if I choose it, I can have it. Just like I did in other parts of my life. If I can hustle in the streets, I can hustle in our classroom. If I can hustle on the basketball court and play as hard as I can and not give up, same thing I can do in the classroom. And from that day forth, I went from straight F's and D's to honor roll and merit roll. Just like that, from a choice. Now, everybody's not going to be honor roll and merit roll, but all you can do is your best. That's all your teachers ask of you, your coaches, your mentors, your parents, myself. But most importantly, that's all you should ask of yourself, is to do your best and live with that. And now I'm excelling in the classroom and on the basketball court. Honor roll, merit roll student. Me, the foster kid, the kid who was abused and mistreated, mother on drugs, father in prison, is now honor roll and merit roll. Because no matter what happened to me, I still had a choice to choose. And I was learning how to choose at this point in high school. Now I'm excelling on the basketball court. I'm a Nike All-American. I'm first team this, MVP that. And it was all because I shoveled the snow. I shot in the rain. I caught 3 buses in the morning every day. What a janitor, Mr. Johnson, would let me into the school because he loved my hustle so much. He said, son, you're going to be somebody. You're going to go someplace. And I would get to school at 5 o'clock in the morning and practice till 7:55 by myself. Take a quick shower and run to class. So yeah, I deserved to be an All-American. I deserved first team and MVPs and All-Star nominations. Because what I put in is what I get out. And what you put in is what you get out. And because I put so much into it that was constructive and positive, I was now starting to see the fruits of my labor with all of these wonderful accolades that continue to come to me. I graduate high school, and now I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? My goal is to play for Duke and Georgetown and Kansas, and big-time D1 schools. Unfortunately, they stopped calling. They stopped recruiting me. You see, because I had a situation where my coach was planting negative seeds in the minds of these coaches who were recruiting me, and I had no idea that this was going on. The college coaches stopped calling and coming by, and I went to my high school coach and said, hey, man, what is going on here? Why is this happening to me? My coach would just respond and say, big guy, it's okay, don't worry about it. Everything's going to work out fine. And I trusted him. And all the schools continued to stop contacting me. Cleo and George continued to pray and believe that things were going to work out. And I said, man, if I'm not going to Duke, if I'm not going to Georgetown, I'm not playing college basketball. I'm just not doing it. I'm too good for that. I worked too hard to settle. And my social worker at the time, she was engaged to a former pro athlete who started a scouting service. He said, you know what, I'm going to check on this for Wesley and see what the deal is. When he came back and informed me and the family about what was going on, come to find out it was true. The coach was sabotaging, saying negative things about me. And the coaches, they don't want to take a risk on something like that, on someone like that. And I cursed that guy. I cursed my social worker. No way my coach would do that to me. He would never do that to me. After I graduate, you're allowed to play in 2 All-Star games. I play in the first one, representing the state of Ohio. I get MVP of that All-Star game. And I'm like, sure enough, these big-time colleges are going to come knocking back at the door. Nobody did. I go to the second All-Star game. And one of the schools that I really wanted to play for was Marquette, the University of Marquette. Just so happened that Marquette happened to be in the arena, that All-Star game, and they loved what they saw from me. We win the game. I show out. The coach from the All-Star team comes in the locker room, hugging me and jumping up and down, and I'm thinking, hey, it's just the All-Star game, man. Chill out. He said, no, you don't understand. Marquette was in the stands, and they want to offer you a scholarship, Wesley. I said, man, you got to be kidding me, because it was during the time period that coaches couldn't physically come up to you at that time. It wasn't the open period during that All-Star game. He said, yes, for sure. And I'm so excited, and I'm talking to the coaches from Marquette, then all of a sudden they stopped. And I'm confused yet again. I'm working so hard. Why is this door being closed? I decided to keep calling the coach till I got in contact with him. And the coach said, hey, I'm so sorry, Wes, we had to give your scholarship to somebody else. I said, what? Why? I'm an All-American. Well, to be honest, Wesley, we just can't take a risk on a young man like yourself. What does that mean, coach? And everything that my social worker's fiance told me is exactly what that coach said, that my high school coach informed him of. And I begged and pleaded and said, no, I'm not this person. I'm a straight-A student. I'm a role model. I'm a great player. Sorry, Wesley. We had to give your scholarship away to somebody else. That broke me. Man, I said, hey, man, I just came through foster care. I was overcoming all of this trauma and abuse. I was finally allowing Cleo and George to come in and enter my life emotionally. I found this wonderful gift of basketball, and then I worked so hard, and now it's taken away from me again? Man, this is unfair. I'm not playing basketball no more. And it wasn't until I'm coming home, summer, that summer, I walk in the house, and there's a group of guys in suits sitting on my mother's couch. And I'm thinking, man, I know I ain't did no dirt. I don't get in trouble. My mother, I said, hey, Mom, who are these people? My mother smiled and said, hey, these are your new coaches. I said, no way. Oh, what school is this? They said, Robert Morris University. I said, no way I'm going to Robert Morris. And the coach said, who was Jim Boone at the time, he said, Wesley, why don't you want to come to our school? I said, man, because you're not Duke. You're not Georgetown. I ain't going to be playing on ESPN every night. That's my goal. That's my dream. He smiled and said, don't you know we're still a Division I program? We still get to play on ESPN. And all these schools that turned away from you, we get to play against some of them. You can get back at them. I said, yeah? He said, yeah. I said, I don't know. I'll think about it. Those coaches came to my house every weekend. Coaches showed up at the park. Coaches showed up almost everywhere I was. They were determined to bring me to their program. And yet Cleo and George were determined to convince me that that's where I was going. Just an immature kid, confused, not understanding. Just, I wanted what I wanted. I worked hard. I deserved it. Slowly but surely, I began to realize that, hey, this is where I'm going to have to end up going. And I ended up going to Robert Morris University, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. I'm a Nike All-American. I'm going to come on campus and just kill everybody. Nope. See, Jim Boone has something else in store for me. It's called humility. So he said, hey, man, I don't care how good you are. I don't care. You mine now that you entered this campus, and you do what I say. And I don't play freshmen. And I was determined as a challenge, being competitive, oh, you're going to play me. He said, this is my rule. Practice was so hard. I mean, I thought I was in shape. Nah, high school shape is nothing like college shape. And I wanted to quit, and I was so frustrated. But I knew I couldn't quit because I love basketball so much, and my goal was to be a pro. And I was determined to be that. And I was going to let anything stand in the way of that, including Jim Boone. But Jim Boone was slowly but surely cultivating me to become a man. So yeah, the season start and exhibition games go around. I'm out there dunking on people, doing my thing. And then the season start, and guess where I was at? On the bench. He meant what he said. He was determined to groom me and mature me and grow me into the man that I was called to be. I didn't understand it. But as years went on, my skill just continued to get even better and better and better and better. Now I'm an MVP. Now I'm first team, second team. I'm player of the week. I'm all these wonderful things because Jim Boone took the time to cultivate me. He moved on, and a new coach came in, Danny Nee. Danny Nee was coming from the University of Nebraska, and he dealt with NBA players. He sent a few off to the NBA from his university. And he liked me from the jump. Oh, you got an NBA game, Wes. You're going to be a pro. And he put the ball in my hand and said, everything goes through Wesley. What a great year I had my junior year, playing for Danny Nee. He allowed me to be free to use all the things that Jim Boone cultivated before he got there, the fundamentals. the discipline, the IQ, the intelligence, both on and off the basketball court. And time passes and Danny Nee leaves. And now I have Coach Smith from Xavier. And he comes in and he changes the whole trajectory of everything that's going on. He came in with his own players. And I wasn't one of the players that he wanted to put in the system. But because of the media, he had no choice but to play me. And just my luck. In the fifth or sixth game of the season, I suffer a fracture in the face that sidelined me for a while. And the coach used that to slowly but surely try to plug me back in. But I learned resilience through that. I learned a lot of resilience through that. Patience, and how it's a virtue. Of understanding that when circumstances happen to you, they're not against you, they're for you. As I look back at all of the things that I endured as a child in foster care, if I can endure all of those things, I could definitely endure this circumstance here. And I used it to the best of my ability. I used it to my advantage. I wasn't just an athlete, I was a student first. And as I was honor roll and merit roll in high school, I became dean's list, me, the orphan kid. Again, the mother, the child whose mother was on drugs. Father was in prison. The orphan child who was abused is now on dean's list at one of the top universities for business in America. Me. And I started to use that as my advantage, understanding that I was a student first and then an athlete, that you couldn't have one without the other, and that all of these things were going to cultivate me to become the best version of myself, just like it can do for you. If you choose, because success is a choice. And every day throughout high school and college, I woke up every day choosing to be successful, no matter what came my way, using it to elevate myself, to bring me to where I was created to be, to fulfill the purpose in this life that I was created to fulfill. And there was nothing like that graduation day. As Cleo and George sat in the audience with my mentors and friends and family and people from the church, and they sat and watched me as I was one of these many students graduating from Robert Morris University in 2002. What a great feeling it was to walk down an aisle and say to myself, look at what I'm becoming. Look what I have overcome. And I can't wait to see what's next for my life. What's the next chapter of my life after college? Thank you for watching today's episode. I hope that you were able to draw inspiration from me today. If you'd like to connect or learn more, check out my website at drfluellenkeynotes.com. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time on Transparent Dialogues. If you enjoyed the second episode, you'll want to be here for the concluding chapter of this 3-part series. God bless. Peace.